Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever noticed how easy it is to believe in everyone else's talent, but so hard to believe in your own? We admire singers, cricketers, actors, entrepreneurs, saints. But when it comes to ourselves, suddenly we become the biggest critics. Isn't it true? The world is filled with people ready to doubt you. But the question is, will you join them, or will you stand on your own side? Because the day you start believing in yourself is the day your life changes forever. Remember, a bird sitting on a tree is never afraid of the branch breaking, because her trust is not in the branch. It is in her wings. Today, I want to remind you your wings are stronger than you think. Self-belief is the foundation of success. Think about it. If you don't believe in yourself, who else will? The most talented person in the world, the most knowledgeable person in the room, the most gifted mind on the planet. If that person does not carry the courage of belief within, all that talent and knowledge remains buried, unused, wasted. You may have a seed of a giant tree inside you, but if you do not trust it enough to plant it in the soil, to water it, to protect it, how will it ever grow into the shade-giving tree it is meant to be? Every achievement you see around you today, every invention, every piece of art, every successful business, every inspiring leader began not with resources, not with money, not with certainty, but with self-belief. The Wright brothers were not engineers with degrees, but they believed human beings could fly. Thomas Edison was called a failure thousands of times, but he believed he would find the right way. Even spiritual teachers, saints and leaders who walked against the current of society did so because they believed in the light they carried within. The tragedy is many of us spend years waiting for someone else to believe in us. Our parents, our teachers, our boss, our friends. But the truth is, even if the whole world applauds you, it will not matter unless you believe in yourself. And even if the whole world laughs at you, it will not stop you if you believe in yourself. Belief is the inner soil in which the seeds of your talent grow. Without it, the seed dries. With it, even the smallest seed can break through rocks and reach the sky. So the question you must ask is not, do I have the talent, but do I have the belief? Because the foundation of every great success story in history has been this invisible force called self-belief. The world reflects your belief. Have you noticed how sometimes two people with the same skills, the same qualifications, the same background walk into the same room, yet one of them is instantly respected, listened to, and even admired while the other goes unnoticed? What's the difference? It's not always their looks, not always their degrees, not always their language. The difference is the way they carry themselves, the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they present themselves. Those things are deeply influenced by one hidden element, their self-belief. When you believe in yourself, people can feel it. They sense the conviction in your words, the confidence in your posture, the calmness in your decisions. And when you doubt yourself, people can feel that too. They sense hesitation, uncertainty, and fear. Even if you try to hide it, life is like a mirror. It reflects back to you what you show it. If you project insecurity, the world doubts you. If you project confidence, the world believes you. Even before you have proven yourself fully. Think about it. When a teacher enters a classroom with confidence, students pay attention. When a leader speaks with faith in his or her vision, people follow. When an artist shares their work with pride and sincerity, people appreciate it. But when that same teacher, leader, or artist walks in with self-doubt, the audience begins to doubt too. Not because they aren't capable, but because belief or lack of it is contagious. The way you see yourself becomes the way the world sees you. If you see yourself as unworthy, others treat you that way. If you carry yourself with dignity, people respect you. If you keep apologizing for your existence, people will overlook you. But if you stand with the inner knowing that you belong, that you have value, that you matter. Suddenly, the world starts responding differently. Doors open, opportunities appear, and people begin to trust you. This is why self-belief is not just an inner thing. It's also a social force. It changes how you act, and that changes how the world reacts. Confidence is not shouting or pretending. It's a quiet assurance that comes from within. And when you carry that assurance, others naturally align with it. So remember, if you want the world to believe in you, start by believing in yourself first. Because the world is only a reflection of the belief you project. Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. Failure may knock you down once, twice, or even 10 times. But doubt stops you before you even begin. Failure at least teaches you something. It gives you experience. It gives you lessons. It shows you what doesn't work. And if you are willing, it redirects you to what can work. But doubt paralyzes. It whispers in your ear, what if you're not good enough? What if you embarrass yourself? What if people laugh? What if you fail? And before you take the first step, you already quit in your mind. That is the tragedy of doubt. It doesn't just kill opportunities. It kills the courage to even try. How many books have remained unwritten because their authors doubted their ability to write? How many songs have remained unsung because someone believed their voice wasn't good enough? How many ideas, inventions, and dreams have died quietly in the hearts of people? Not because they couldn't do it, but because they doubted if they could. Doubt is a silent thief. It steals your potential without anyone noticing. The worst part is you will never know what you could have achieved if only you had tried. Failure can be respected. People who fail and rise again are admired. But doubt leaves no trace, no story, no journey. It is invisible failure, and because of doubt, the world loses out on so many gifts. Your gifts that could have inspired, helped, and changed lives. Great achievers were not people who never faced failure. They were people who faced doubt, but chose to move anyway. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. Imagine if he had doubted himself and stopped after the first few attempts. Michael Jordan missed more shots than he made, but he never doubted his love for the game. Imagine if he had walked away because of doubt. The truth is, failure shapes champions, but doubt prevents champions from ever being born. So the real danger is not falling down. It's never standing up. It's not rejection. It's never asking. It's not losing. It's never playing. That is the cost of doubt. And once you understand this, you begin to see failure not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Because failure at least moves you forward, while doubt leaves you standing still. That's why if you must choose between trying and failing or doubting, and never trying, always choose to try, because failure ends with a lesson, but doubt ends with regret, and regret is far heavier to carry than failure ever will be. Believing in yourself doesn't mean arrogance. This is where many people get it wrong. The moment someone begins to show confidence, others are quick to label them as proud, egoic, or full of themselves. But there is a very important difference between arrogance and self-belief. Arrogance says, I am better than you. Self-belief says, I am worthy just like you. Arrogance needs to push others down in order to stand tall. Self-belief stands tall on its own without comparing, without competing unnecessarily. When you truly believe in yourself, you don't have the need to shout about your worth. You don't have the urge to prove your value in every conversation. You carry a quiet strength that speaks louder than words. Arrogance is loud because it is insecure. It is like an empty vessel that makes more noise. But real self-belief is calm, centered, humble. It is not about boasting. It is about knowing who you are. A person who believes in themselves can walk into a room and uplift others instead of trying to overshadow them, because their worth is not threatened by the success of someone else. They can celebrate others because their own foundation is strong. Arrogant people can't do that because their so-called confidence is built on comparison. The moment someone else shines brighter, they feel small. But self-belief is not fragile like that. It is rooted deeply within like a tree that doesn't fear the storm because its roots are secure. Think of great leaders, saints or teachers. They had immense belief in themselves, but at the same time immense humility. They knew their purpose. They knew their worth. Yet they didn't need to parade it with arrogance. Mahatma Gandhi, for instance, stood in front of empires with nothing but a walking stick and his conviction. Was that arrogance? No. That was belief in his truth. On the other hand, arrogant rulers with armies and power eventually collapsed because arrogance is temporary. But true self-belief endures. Believing in yourself means you trust the gifts you've been given and you respect them enough to use them. But you also recognize that others have their gifts too. It's not a competition, it's a contribution. When you believe in yourself with humility, you don't look down on others. You look around and realize we are all walking our own path, carrying our own strengths. So when someone asks you to tone down your confidence, because it looks like arrogance, remember the test of your belief is not how loudly you can speak about it, but how gracefully you can live it. Arrogance creates distance between people, but true belief in yourself creates connection. It allows you to shine and at the same time inspire others to shine too. This is why believing in yourself is not arrogance. It is alignment with your purpose, respect for your own worth, and the humility to know that you are valuable just as everyone else is. Comparison weakens belief. One of the greatest thieves of self-confidence is the habit of comparing ourselves to others. It begins so early in life. Parents comparing children, teachers comparing students, society comparing achievements. And slowly, without realizing it, we learn to measure our worth not by our own progress, but by someone else's success. And the problem with comparison is this. No matter how good you are, there will always be someone who is ahead of you in some way. Always. If you sing beautifully, there will be someone who sings better. If you are intelligent, there will be someone with higher grades. If you are wealthy, there will be someone richer. If you are strong, there will be someone stronger. The list never ends. And if you keep chasing validation through comparison, you will never feel enough. Comparison is like standing in a race that has no finish line. You keep running, but peace never arrives. You achieve something, but instead of enjoying it, you look sideways. Oh, but they have more than me. They are faster than me. They are ahead of me. And instantly your own joy evaporates. This constant looking sideways drains your energy and slowly weakens your belief in yourself. You begin to feel, maybe I am not capable. Maybe I am not worthy. Maybe I am not enough. But the truth is you are enough only if you measure yourself by your own growth, not by somebody else's scoreboard. A seed does not compare itself to another seed. A rose does not envy the sunflower, and the sunflower does not look at the rose and feel small. Each grows in its own time, in its own season, according to its own nature. Imagine if a mango tree spent its whole life comparing itself to an apple tree saying, "Why don't I grow apples?" It would never realize the sweetness it carries within. In the same way, when you compare, you forget the uniqueness of your own gifts. You start doubting your abilities simply because they are different, not because they are less. The only healthy comparison you should ever make is with yourself. Ask, am I better than I was yesterday? Have I grown compared to who I was last year? Am I taking steps towards becoming the person I want to be? That kind of comparison strengthens your belief because it reminds you of your progress. It gives you motivation without jealousy, confidence without insecurity. But comparing yourself constantly to others is like trying to write with someone else's pen. You can copy their letters, but you'll never find your own handwriting. Your journey is not supposed to look like theirs. And the moment you stop comparing, you start living. You begin to see your strengths, your path, your potential clearly. Self-belief grows when you realize you don't need to be the best in the world. You only need to be the best version of yourself. So remember this: comparison is a thief. It steals joy, it steals gratitude, and it steals belief. But when you let go of comparison, you step into contentment, you step into confidence, and you step into the truth that your story, your path, and your pace are exactly where they are meant to be. Every expert was once a beginner. This is a truth so simple yet so easily forgotten. When we see someone standing on the stage, shining in the spotlight, speaking with power, singing with grace, performing with perfection, or running a business with great success, we often forget that there was a time when that very person had no idea what they were doing. There was a time when their voice cracked, when their hands trembled, when their ideas were dismissed, when they stumbled and made mistakes that today we never get to see. But because we only see the polished version, the finished product, we assume that they were always like that, as if they were born with excellence. And in believing that, we look at ourselves as beginners and think, I can't do it. I don't have it in me. But pause and reflect. Every single master in history began with small, clumsy, imperfect steps. The greatest speakers in the world once forgot their lines. The best athletes in the world once fell on the ground in front of crowds. The finest musicians once played out of tune. Even saints and spiritual teachers once struggled with doubts, questions, and discipline. Nobody begins at the top. Everyone begins at the bottom, and it is only belief. The belief that I can learn, I can grow, I can improve, that takes them to mastery. The danger is when we expect ourselves to be perfect at the very first attempt. A child who learns to walk does not fall once and then say, this is not for me. They fall hundreds of times, but they get up again and again, because something inside them believes, I can do this. And one day they walk, later they run, later they climb. But it all begins with a belief in the very first shaky step. Imagine if Thomas Edison had believed he was not good enough after his first few failed attempts at creating the light bulb. Imagine if Michael Jordan had quit basketball the moment he was cut from his high school team. Imagine if J.K. Rowling had stopped writing after her first rejection letter. Today we admire them as legends, but we forget they were once beginners who simply believed long enough to continue. This is why self-belief is not about saying I am already perfect. It is about saying I am willing to be imperfect, but I believe I can grow. It is not about skipping the struggle. It is about embracing the struggle with faith that every mistake is shaping you into the expert you are meant to be. When you look at an expert, don't feel small. Don't think they are special and I am not. Instead, think if they could grow from a beginner to this, so can I. Because the only difference between you and an expert is not talent. It is time, effort, and belief. So the next time you feel nervous at the starting line, the next time you hesitate because you're a beginner, remind yourself this is how every journey starts. Nobody skips this phase. Even the masters you admire once stood exactly where you are, and the only thing that carried them forward was belief. The belief that being a beginner is not a weakness, it's the beginning of greatness. Failure is feedback, not a full stop. Most people see failure as the end of the road. They try something, it doesn't work, and they immediately think, this is it. I'm not good enough. I should stop. But failure was never meant to be the end. Failure is like a teacher in disguise. It comes into your life not to close doors, but to show you which doors are worth knocking on again and which ones lead nowhere. If you only see failure as a wall, you'll stop. But if you see it as a signpost, it will guide you. Look at the life of any successful person, and you'll see a trail of failures behind them. Edison once said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that don't work. Imagine if he had seen those 10,000 experiments as dead ends. The world might still be living in darkness. But he saw failure not as a full stop, but as feedback, as information, as a way of learning what to adjust. That belief kept him going until success finally arrived. Failure teaches us things success never can. Success often makes us comfortable, but failure sharpens us. Success feeds the ego, but failure shapes character. Success is the fruit, but failure is the soil. Without the soil of failure, no fruit of success can grow. Every time you fail, life is handing you feedback about your methods, about your timing, about your preparation, about your persistence. And those who learn from that feedback rise higher than before. The problem is not failure itself. The problem is the meaning we attach to failure. When you fail and say, "This means I'm not good enough," you stop growing. But if you fail and say, "This means I've just discovered one way that doesn't work," you keep moving. The difference is in perspective. That perspective is born from belief. The belief that failure is a stepping stone, not a stumbling block. Think of a baby learning to walk. They fall again and again, but never once does a baby think, "Maybe walking is not for me." They don't take falling as failure. They take it as feedback. "Oh, I need to balance better. Oh, I need to hold on tighter. Oh, I need to take smaller steps." That's why eventually they walk. That same spirit is inside all of us. But as we grow older, we forget it. We start fearing failure instead of using it. Failure is proof that you are trying. It means you are moving. It means you are stretching beyond comfort. If you are failing, it means you are in the game. And as long as you are in the game, you can win. The real failure is not falling down. It is refusing to get back up. The moment you stop rising, that's when failure becomes permanent. Until then, it is only feedback. So the next time you fail, don't put a full stop there. Put a comma. Learn the lesson, adjust your approach, grow stronger, and keep moving. Because failure is never the opposite of success. It is part of success. Every champion has been shaped more by their failures than by their victories. And if you can see failure for what it truly is, feedback, you will never fear it again. You will welcome it as a companion on your journey to greatness. Your inner voice is the loudest. No matter how many voices surround you, no matter how many people cheer for you or criticize you, the voice that stays with you the longest, the one that never leaves you, is the voice inside your own head. From the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, and even in your dreams. It whispers, it comments, it encourages, or it discourages. And the truth is that inner voice shapes your life more than the words of anyone else ever can. Think about it. If 100 people tell you, "You are capable, you can do this, you have what it takes," but your inner voice says, "No, you can't, you're not good enough," whose words will you believe? And on the other side, if the world doubts you, mocks you, laughs at you, but your inner voice is firm and says, "I can, I will, I must," then nothing in the world can stop you. That's the power of the inner voice. It is not just background noise. It is the script that your life begins to follow. The way you speak to yourself matters deeply. Many of us are experts at encouraging others, at comforting friends, at supporting family. But when it comes to ourselves, our language becomes harsh. We criticize ourselves more than anyone else could. We say, "I always mess up, I never do anything right. I'll never make it." And these words repeated day after day sink into the subconscious mind, shaping our beliefs, shaping our actions, shaping our destiny. You don't rise higher than the words you consistently tell yourself. But the beautiful thing is you can choose to change the conversation. You can train your inner voice to be a coach, not a critic. You can teach it to say, "I am learning. I am growing. I am capable. I may not be perfect, but I am improving." At first, it might feel strange, even fake, because you've spent years listening to self-doubt. But with practice, that inner dialogue becomes your greatest source of strength. Think of great athletes before a game. They don't just train their bodies, they train their minds. They repeat affirmations. They visualize success. They tell themselves, "I've got this." Why? Because they know if their inner voice wavers, their performance will crumble. No matter how strong their body is, the same applies to every area of life. Career, relationships, personal growth. Your inner voice sets the ceiling for your possibilities. Imagine carrying a friend with you everywhere you go. Would you want that friend to constantly criticize you, mock you, doubt you? Or would you want that friend to support you, remind you of your strengths, and push you forward? The truth is that friend already exists. It is your inner voice. The question is, have you trained it to be your enemy or your ally? The world outside may never fully believe in you. Sometimes even your closest people may fail to support you. But if the voice within stands strong, you will not break. And the opposite is also true. You may have the world cheering for you. But if your inner voice is filled with doubt, you will never feel enough. So guard your inner dialogue carefully. Feed it with faith, with encouragement, with patience. Because your inner voice is the one you can never escape, the one you will hear in your highest moments and your darkest nights. And if that voice believes in you, nothing else needs to. Faith in yourself inspires faith in others. People often think leadership is about convincing others, about speaking powerfully, about motivating the crowd. But the truth is, leadership begins with energy, not words. People do not follow what you say. They follow what you believe. And belief is contagious. When you carry self-belief, others can feel it. They see it in your eyes. They hear it in your tone. They sense it in your actions. That inner conviction radiates outward, and people around you begin to trust you. Not because you force them to, but because your belief is so real. It awakens belief inside them too. Think about the great leaders in history. Did Gandhi convince millions of people because he had wealth or an army? No, he had none of that. What he had was unshakable belief in his principles, and that faith in himself gave others the courage to stand beside him. Did Martin Luther King Jr. inspire a movement just by facts? No. It was his conviction, his faith in his dream, that ignited faith in the hearts of millions. Belief is like fire. When you light it within yourself, it spreads to everyone around you. Even in everyday life, you see this principle in a family. When a parent believes in themselves and in the future, the children feel safe. In a classroom, when a teacher believes in their ability to guide, the students feel confident. In a team, when the leader believes in their vision, the members give their best. But if the leader is filled with doubt, the team collapses. If the teacher feels insecure, the students lose trust. If the parent is hopeless, the children feel anxious. Your self-belief doesn't stay inside you. It becomes the foundation upon which others build their trust. This is why believing in yourself is not a selfish act. It is a service. It is a responsibility, because your belief has the power to lift others higher. When you walk into a room with confidence, you don't just uplift yourself, you uplift the entire atmosphere. People feel calmer, stronger, safer in your presence. And when you doubt yourself, that doubt also spreads. It makes people uneasy. It makes them hesitate. That's how powerful your inner state is. It silently communicates with others. So if you want your children to believe in themselves, show them what it looks like by believing in yourself first. If you want your team to stay strong, carry your own strength first. If you want your community to have hope, carry hope in your own heart first, because others rarely rise above the level of belief they see in you. Faith in yourself is like a torch in the darkness. When you hold it high, others can see their path too. But if you hide it, everyone stumbles. Never underestimate the influence of your belief. It might just be the very thing that gives someone else the courage to keep going. And maybe, just maybe, your decision to believe in yourself could be the spark that changes not only your life, but the lives of countless others around you.